Hey everyone, this is Marcus and Andrea here again. Say hi,
Hello.
Marcus.
How y'all doing?
So happy, thriving Thursday. Yes. We just started something different and we've labeled the days of the week. So today is Thriving Thursday. Did you know that thriving means to prosper, to success, to have success, and to excel in areas? So I posed a question today and I want you to be thinking about it. How can we excel in our relationships? Let's think about that. I think Marcus and I are going to touch on it tonight. So I'm super excited about being on here. The other day we talked with Marcus about male vulnerability. Yes, that was a good one. Marcus was very open and very vocal and very transparent.
For the first time, as relate to that.
Yes, for the first time as related to that. So we are excited, okay? So tonight we're going to talk about marriage and vulnerability. And I told you that tonight was going to be a little bit more of a conversation and less of a Q&A. You excited, Marcus?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So you heard Marcus's side of vulnerability. But now it's my turn. And then we're going to be talking about it in a marriage. What do you think?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is what it is. What you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get. Okay. So let's jump right in. Okay? Sound effects. Great! Nobody's getting run over by a car. We're so excited.
That was last year. Monday.
Yeah, that was Monday. Okay. So I guess I'll get started a little bit. My journey as far as getting married, I didn't necessarily have the best examples of relationships in my life, as far as marriage relationships or romantic relationships. So I always kind of had this hard shell, when it came to wanting to be in a romantic relationship, because I'm like, I don't want anybody hurting me. I don't want anybody causing me pain. I don't want anybody running me over, basically, or hurting my feelings in the marriage, okay, or in any kind of relationship. So I was kind of a bully a little bit when I was in relationships. I was very strong and very opinionated, and let's talk about kind of when we first started to get to know each other. This is after we had met, and I told you I followed him around campus, and you've heard that story a little bit. So when I first met Marcus, one of the things that he said to me was, do you remember?
Yeah, you gonna say that. I ain't gonna say that.
So I liked Marcus a lot.
I've grown since then.
Yeah, I liked him a whole lot, and I was really interested in seeing where our relationship would go. And I remember we were on, if you're from Louisville, shout out to the Louisville people. Hey, and you know what I'm talking about riding the TARC. So we were on a TARC. This is a public transportation. We were on TARC, and it was cold outside. And Marcus looked at me, and I was really liking Marcus a lot. And he looked at me and he said, "If you ever like me, I will cut you off."
Well, I didn't cut her off, as you can see.
He said, "If you ever like me." So my first reaction was, I just can't believe this dude just rejected me. You ain't all of that. I don't like you like that. Forget you anyway. Right?
Yeah, but somehow you remembered me.
Okay, well, no. Let's stick to the story. Let's stick to the story. I was mad. I was really hurt by Marcus's response to me, because I understand. But every signal that he was giving me was he liked me, right? Like, he would spend time with me, talk on the phone, we talked for hours. And every signal that he gave me was, I'm into you, I want to be with you. And when he said that to me, I was like, you ain't all that. That was my first, you ain't all that. You don't look that good. Yeah. Forget you too. Right.
16 years later.
Okay. Come on, man. Stick to the story. Come on. Keep getting to the end result. We're talking about marriage and vulnerability. Okay. So I was hurt. And instead of me saying something to Marcus, like I built up this wall of defense and I was like, I will never date that dude. That was my thinking at the time. What was your thinking? Why would you say something like that to me? And I know you like, because he used to call me first lady, tell me how pretty I was and all sort of stuff. And they don't look at me and say, yeah, if you ever like me, then,
Well, at the time I was pretty young and arrogant, pretty brutal in my conversation. So, I was wrong. So.
But why did you say that to me? Like, where were you at the time?
I really can't tell you. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I always thought you was attractive. I knew you were attractive. I didn't just thought it. I knew it, I don't know what I was thinking. I guess you could say some reverse psychology, I guess you could call it.
Did it work?
Nah, man, it's just a good disregard that get this thing going, the goodness, the grace, and the mercy of God.
Okay, so just jump into the end. What did it? I mean, because I told you I shut off. So what happened next?
I mean, afterward, we couldn't be around each other without arguing. I mean, I would always say something dumb and stupid, and then you would, of course, you would come back like Angela Davis or one of those revolutionists or something, because that's just who you are at the time. Well, hey, I don't need you and blah blah blah, all those other things, don't smile at me and all that stuff, Who you think you are? You ain't all of that, And I mean, that one statement cost us a lot of time.
Yeah, I even got into another relationship. And that took some time to kind of get over. If you follow my blog, I talked a little bit about that too. But I jumped up into another relationship. I remember one time, Marcus was someone we had done a play together or something. And, it was wild. We did a play together. And Marcus came in, he was talking to one of my friends, and he just was going, he went off on her. I don't know, he was in a bad mood or something. He was playing Jesus in the play.
Man, I was supposed to be playing Jesus, but I was acting like the devil in the play. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was a nice dear friend. Man, I just.
So I jumped in and I started going at it. I'm like, you don't talk to her like that. You this and you that. I got your back. You can't be saying this to her. And
I think I came at you too. So.
Yeah, he did. So we went and did the play. Ended the play. The night was over. We went back to campus because this was before we ever started dating.
Yeah.
In that phase, we went back to the dorm rooms, and Marcus tried to come and make amends. And was like, man, I apologize. And I think we ended up getting into a screaming match.
Yeah, I think you were screaming. I don't remember what happened that night, but I had some repentance.
Yeah. And then he went away for the summer.
Yeah, I went home.
Yeah.
I went to the Bahamas for the summer.
Yeah.
To the Bahamas home.
To the Bahamas.
Yes.
He went to the Bahamas for the summer.
Yeah.
And I remember I ended the relationship that I was in and was trying to get my life back on track because I had built up a lot of walls, a lot of protection, and I was never one of those people that was super anxious to get married. I was, I liked the fact that I wanted to be in a relationship, but I wasn't I don't necessarily want this dude to tie me down. I have goals, I have dreams. Guys, whatever. I mean, if you can follow me, if you can catch up, then we can be together. But if not, I'm not really interested in following your vision and your dreams or whatever. You're gonna have to jump on board. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of had a thing about being married too. So for the rest of your life, the last person you see at night, the first person you see in the morning, for the rest of your life, but it's been a joy. Yeah. But I'm like, golly, it's nerve-wracking. It's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, what if she crazy? What if she, just ain't all there?
Yeah.
That's a force to be reckoned with, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you probably thought the same thing.
Yeah. It wasn't my thing. And kind of like as I was, I know I've said to people, like I've had a couple come to Jesus meetings, where there have been like really pivotal times in my life when I was like, I've got to make some life choices. I've got to make better decisions. And from that point, like I can pinpoint them in my past, I shifted and went into a different direction. Yeah. So at that point, like I wasn't really open, wasn't really thinking about marriage, wasn't really on my mind. I wasn't even really thinking about dating. The only thing I could think of is what I'm going to do to where am I going to go for my master's degree? Like what's going to be the next step? How am I going to get into my career path? Yeah. And I was really hard as far as relationships were concerned, feelings, sensitivity.
Hard is an understatement.
Yeah, I was really hard. Like I would have a conversation with you, like Marcus and I, we built a friendship. Yeah. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that on our first thing, but we built a friendship. I would tell him, I didn't mind telling him a lot of things, but as far as touching me emotionally, no.
Well, I mean, getting run over by a car was easier than talking to you then. So we back to the car story again. So, I mean, you was just, golly, she was like a sledgehammer, you know, in the hands of the strongest man in the world. And with her words and when she said what she wanted, what she's about to do. And I mean, she's just resilient. I mean, if she make up her mind to go after it, she goes after it, hook, line, and sinker. So, yeah, there's no being deterred. She's pretty upfront. Pretty open about her endeavor. And so, it was scary, but, you know.
And I was really protective of my heart at the time. Yeah. Because I was like, I don't want to be hurt. I just can't be hurt. I was in a previous relationships. I've been in other relationships, and I've spent too much of my life being in pain. I do not want to be hurt by you. So I really put like a resistance to Marcus. Marcus had told you about the story about him telling me about his feelings, but what he didn't tell you was that it took me 3 months to respond.
Man, I don't even want to talk about that 3 months, but anyway.
It took me 3 months to like really be like, okay, I was still hesitant about getting into this relationship because Marcus was already committed to us being together forever and ever and ever.
And then, you was like, well, I'm like, okay, I need some explanation. I need you to tell me what this is. And you said, well, whatever you think it is. I say, I ain't assuming nothing. You got to tell me what it is. Tell me what a TIA is. Tell me what it is. She said, well, you're my boyfriend. And,
that was 3 months later.
It was 3 months later.
Yeah.
Even then, we were boyfriend and girlfriend, but the thought of marriage was still a sensitive subject because she going to get a master's and blah, blah, and blah, blah. And, she got a master's. Yes, she did. But I'm like, wow, this woman is, it's kind of tough, but but it was attractive to me. Because, I didn't want to be married to a wimp. I wanted to be married to someone who had their own identity and know what they wanted. So
so like I was really I was super strong, and Marcus would try to do things to make me feel comfortable with him, make me trust him. I had so many walls up. From past experience with previous relationships, and then just examples that I had seen growing up. Marriage didn't look like an attractive thing to me. It looked like misery, honestly. And I always felt like I had to protect myself when I was in a relationship. So when I went into the marriage, fast forward, Marcus and I get engaged. We get married December 12th. 2003. Okay, so we'll be celebrating 17 years in December. So Marcus and I, we get engaged, we get married, and life starts to happen, but I'm still distant from you.
Yeah, I can't explain as to why you were distant, but at the same time, I didn't have the best track record of being accountable with time, with my actions, in terms of being where I'm supposed to be, or I would always get sidetracked. I would leave to go somewhere, and man, I would end up, out 2-3 hours, later, no phone calls, no anything, and that's a lot of room, a lot of time, for a number of things, thought patterns, and it was just me not being accountable with my time and being diligent and disciplined. So, I mean, if the role was reversed, I probably would have been just as hard. I'd be like, okay, man, you tell me, 1 hour, it's been 4 hours, where you at? What's going on? So yeah.
Yeah. But I went into the relationship not knowing that I even needed to or to tear walls down. Like that was a foreign concept to me. Yeah. I didn't know that I could be more vulnerable than I already was. I already had personal insecurities with, most women have personal insecurities with their bodies. And, kind of, when you get married, you're always kind of wanting to be that perfect person. And then, I couldn't cook. That was like, it was horrible. And he did okay. And, so he did okay. We suffered through the first couple of years with both of our cookers. We ate out a lot. We ate out a whole lot. But we'd have these date nights and, we'd have fun, but, we weren't as connected as we could have been. And I knew that from my end, Marcus was giving me everything. He was giving me all of his emotion, all of his feelings. He was very lovey-dovey, very kind to me, very thoughtful of me, very mindful of me. And I was always pushing him off. I'm like, man, you were way too much. And I mean, this is even after we were married for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I think this is even after our first son, like up until the point of us having first six. So by then we have been married for 3 years, and he's like a marshmallow, like he said before, like he's super mushy, called I love you so much, I was thinking about you. And I come home, there'd be roses all over the place.
Hey man, you know what I'm saying?
It was amazing, just the way that he treated me. He treated me like, he loved me. He treated me like he was kind to me, but I didn't know how to accept those things. I thought that was a sign of weakness. So I was like, well, you know that. Well, so I was like, man, please, you way too much. I mean, it's you're putting too much in this relationship. I mean, we just married. It's like, I don't feel like I need to be connected to you like that. It was really, I mean, the show, because like every time he would try to be really into me, I was pushing him off, and it was a form of rejection.
Yeah,
for him.
It didn't go too well.
Yeah,
with me, and then I guess I was the one to get hard after a while. But yeah, I mean, I've always knew that when I get married, I wanted it to be. I mean, number one, I wanted just one time, just one marriage. That's it. And I also know I wanted to put my heart into it, and that's what I did coming out the gate. And I felt when she pushed me away, I couldn't identify these things at the time, but looking back at it, I could see what it is. And when she pushed me away, I already had a problem with rejection, and I perceived it as me being rejected, and I got to the place where I didn't want to open up because I felt like I had to protect my feelings and protect my heart, even in a marriage,
Yeah, and I had gotten to the place where, like, I mean, so kind of let me lead up to that. I had Kenton, our firstborn. You seen him a couple of days ago. He was on here with me. And I had Kenton. Kenton changed my perspective on what love meant, what having a baby meant, what kids meant. Like, he changed my total perspective. When I looked in his face, like, it was just pure love, pure compassion. I never felt like I could love anybody as strongly and want to spend so much time with a person as I did with Kenton. Like, this was like, he was a symbol of who we were as a married couple. And at that time, I was kind of going through postpartum depression and was suffering from a lot of fear and anxiety. But I never told Marcus that these were the things that were going on. But I had like a lot of things where I was completely afraid. I would be paralyzed in fear. I would be sitting on the couch for hours and hours and hours, and I would have the blinds closed because I was afraid somebody was going to hurt me. That was due to the postpartum depression. Yeah. And I remember sitting on the couch, and I kind of felt like the presence of God, come over me, and I had a sense that I needed outside help. Yeah. And that was my second come to Jesus meeting. Yeah. I looked at Marcus. Marcus had gone to get something from the grocery store. I think we were cooking or something. And I looked at Marcus and I said, I need help. Like, I got a lot of baggage that is not good. Yeah. And I need help. So we sat down and we talked about potentially, the people that I was going to ask to help. I'm not going to give their names. I went to 3 different women to have these conversations. And I talked to them about separate things. And all 3 of them led me through paths of healing and reconciliation and forgiveness, and just almost like weights were lifted constantly. And I got to the point where I was like, Marcus, I love you. Like, I really love you. Like I really did mean it at the time.
She get to a place where she could really express what she'd been feeling all the time. It's the best way to say it.
No, I didn't feel it the whole time.
I know. I'm just putting a little spin on it. But just humor. It's just humor.
I didn't feel that the whole time. Yeah. I did have some issues, just with expressing myself. And then, after feeling like I had gotten rid of all of the baggage, I had room for Marcus to be the love of my life. Because at that time we were married, and I was doing all the mechanics of what it looked like to be a good wife. Sometimes we can get in kind of a robotic situation to where we're like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm filling my end. We cook, we clean, we, do our wifely duties, but it's robotic. It's
systematic process.
Yeah,
processor.
Yeah, and you're not into the relationship.
Yeah, you're just doing it to mark, to check. Okay, I did that today.
Yeah,
I told him I love him. I told her I love her. Blah blah. Just marking off the checklist.
Yeah.
Cool. Now I can put the list down and do what I want to do.
Yeah. And I had gotten to that place to where I was like, okay, Marcus, here I am. And I remember I started at that moment to really engage in our conversation. So I've always been a listener. I'm a person that will sit there and listen to whatever you have to say. If you have to say it and I'm sitting there, I'm gonna listen to you. I may after a while have to say, look, I gotta go, but later on, but I will listen to you, and I'll remember the stuff that you tell me. So like for Marcus and I, we always had that open dialogue. But at that point, I started expressing how I felt. And I remember wanting to do things like really big things for Marcus, and show him just how much I loved him, and show him how much I cared about him. And at that point, you said that you had closed down.
Yeah, it was hard for me to receive it because I got pushed or rejected so many times. To me, what was rejection at the time? Unbeknown to me, to where I couldn't receive it. It's like, okay, it was just hard, and I mean, that went for a while, and I think, not to get ahead of myself, but I think, Father's Day was really the first time that you were able to express, you and the kids were able to express freely. It was hard. I didn't know how to. respond to it or how to receive, because you know, it was just hard. I mean, on my birthday, I would go buy people gifts on my birthday, you know. So be like, hey, it's my birthday, here's a necktie. It's my birthday, here's an outfit. It's my birthday, Andrew, here's some money, or whatever the case is. I just didn't know how to receive it, you know. And I would go big for whatever she had coming up, but, you know, don't spend a dime on me, you know, was my mindset. But I gotten hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like our timing was off. Like, you know, he was all in, and then I was all in.
Yeah.
And then I was all in for a long time.
A long time, yeah.
And then we both kind of like, we were able to kind of get to a place to where we could both be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Well, together.
Yeah. Well, we had to, we had to have those come to Jesus conversations. Not once, not twice, not 3 or 4 times, maybe 4 or 5 times a day for about 4 years. You know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, we started to, you know, I'm trying to preach to nobody, but we started to read the scripture together, not explain it, not expound on it or anything. Just read it together. That's it. Just read it, and you know, we're not preaching each other. We just talk. We didn't, you know, we just read the scripture and just pray together, and just let the Lord do the healing. Let Him help us. You know, we got to a place where we both were open and vulnerable, and it's a good thing. And I mean, today, you know, I know Andrea wouldn't hurt me, and I wouldn't hurt her. And even if it seems like, okay, she may have said something or did something that hurt me, I know there's something else going on. There's, okay, what's really happening, you know? And then I'd find out, oh, well, there's something else, you know. It's just a side effect of something else going on, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I wouldn't trade this for the world.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I'd done it a whole lot sooner.
Yeah, me too.
You know.
Me too. I will say, you know, first being vulnerable and open, it was super scary for me. Most people think of women going into marriage and they're all the way in. You know, some of us just aren't. And it wasn't because there was anything wrong with Marcus. It was something that was going on with me that I had to get over. I had to get over my past. And it took me a while to get to that point. It took me a while to even recognize how much my past was influencing my present.
Yeah.
I'm talking like from the time that I was a kid all the way up until, you know, I mean, I was, I think 26 at the time. I'm not gonna tell you how old I am right now. I guess you could do the math. But yeah, you already know. But anyway, I guess you could do the math. But anyway, all the way up until that point, like my past was raking me over the coals.
Yeah.
I remember one night I was in the bathroom, and I remember looking in the mirror and just seeing these horrible images. And I know that once I would see these horrible images, like I'm looking at myself, but my mind's eye is showing me horrible images, not of myself, but of what I'm seeing in my mind. And I know that at that moment, like I would tense up, you know, and I would respond to those images and to those thoughts. And I'd walk out of the bathroom and Marcus would be like, oh, I love you so much. And I know that like my physical body would tense up and like reject him and be like, please don't do that. Don't hug me. Don't touch me. Leave me alone. You know, and it was hard. It was a difficult thing. It was.
Yeah.
And that was like, I felt like that was my only protection. Like the only thing that I could do to really protect myself was to be hard, was to put up walls, even to somebody that it was supposed to be so near and dear to me, the love of my life, my lifetime partner, my spouse. Like I would put up these walls and put him out. And when we got into arguments and fights or whatever, the walls would get thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker.
Not physical fights.
Not physically. No, but I mean, like, you know, arguments and things of that nature. The walls would get thicker, and I would be like, man, I really can't. I can't do this. You know, I don't know how long I would be in this, and you know, just those types of conversation. I'm ready to jump ship. I don't want to be with this guy anymore. Those types of things. But really, like, after I opened up, thinking about, okay, I want my relationship to be lifetime. And I want it to be forever. And I want it to work. And I want us to enjoy being with each other.
Yeah. I know one of the things that helped me in those times is, you know, I think of the damage that I'd done and how heartless I was at one point in time, and how cold I was, and, you know, how I rejected you. And, you know, just looking back from where I am now, looking back at where I was, I mean, I could see the heartlessness and the coldness. And I mean, you know, when I said, you know, I guess you just have to know me. But when I said that I was cold and heartless and could say some hurtful things, or did say some hurtful things, and was just brutal in demeanor, in tone, in words, just harsh. You know, I'm like, hold on, you know, God has shown me mercy. And I know there are people that probably, if you put a microphone to their mouth, they could tell you some things about how I was in terms of things I've said, what I've done. I mean, I got that cold I was so callous, you know. I mean, it was calloused. Yeah, that's being Bahamian, so that's just the way I say it. Okay, but I was
trying to help.
I appreciate that. Thank you. You know, so that's how I was able to withstand, because I know that, you know, even though I'm forgiven and it's under the blood, I knew some of the things that I've done and some of the things that I've said, and innocent people that I've heard along the way. I mean, co-workers, I mean, just, you know, and then the stuff that you endured with me, you know. So, you know, you fought for me when nobody believed in me, when people, you know, told me I wasn't going to be nothing. I mean, when I didn't believe in myself, you know, you were standing there believing with me, believing for me. And a lot of the things that I'm walking in today is not because I got up and I was like, okay, Lord, let's just get it right. But I believe with all my heart is because the Lord has honored your prayers and honored your faith, because you stood and believed for me to where it kind of like a jumper cable, and I'm just a car with a dead battery, and he used you to jumpstart my battery, you know, like that. And for that, I'm grateful, you know. So none of this would have been possible because I'd already quit. I'd already given up. But Andrea keep believing, and Andrea didn't give up, and Andrea keep fighting, you know, even through the hurt, even through the pain, even through depression, even through anxiety, even through all of that, you know. So for that, I'm grateful.
Yeah, praise God. God is good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know we had gotten to a place, and I know we had talked about this probably in a previous session, but we were both considering, like, you know, hey, I'm not really sure where we are and how we're going to make it. And Marcus had mentioned being at a point to where we were reading scriptures together. So I know for me, I got into a place where I was really hurt and heartbroken. And this was later on. This is after I had opened up and I was really all in, you know, just really believing that our marriage was going to survive and thrive and be all that it could be. And then Marcus had kind of gotten to the place where he was really cold and kind of distant because of the rejection that he was experiencing, and just kind of having to experience his kind of own come to Jesus situation and deal with all the hurt and the pain associated with that. Because like I said, I had talked to 3 women, and this was not like just a one-time thing. I met with them regularly for 6 months, and some of them for a longer period of time. And they took me through steps. I'm talking like weekly. Sometimes I was meeting 3 times a week because I felt like I needed my life back on track. I was so depressed. I was so hurt. I had so much baggage. There were so many things that I had not dealt with, and I didn't know how to. And I found women that had gone through a lot of things themselves. They weren't necessarily professional counselors, but not that I discourage that. I encourage you, if you feel like you need professional help, to do that. But I talk with women that have been through a lot of things emotionally and had overcome them.
Yeah.
So I put myself in a position for them to have access to me, to call me, to ask me questions, to keep me accountable, as far as not slipping back into old patterns, putting up walls. And then some of these women would take me step by step. This is what your exercise for the week. Do that, and then we'll come back and talk about it. And we did this consistently for 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months. So kind of after that point, I'd had my Come to Jesus meeting. Marcus and I, we ended up, just going through a really, really rough patch, probably about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was a super rough patch. And both of us were looking at each other like, I don't know if this is going to work.
At one point I thought we were beyond repair.
Yeah.
Beyond restoration. It was that bad.
Yeah.
And the only person who could have fixed anything was God, and not the God that run you over with a truck to kill you and because he needed a flower in heaven, but we needed a good Father.
Yeah.
And he showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took honesty too. I know during that time I learned that it is very important. I know there's timing. Timing means everything. And I know that in a marriage, a lot of things can come up and there can be hurts and pains and things that you just don't share. Like somebody say that Marcus was rude to me and I just hold it in. And say that, or I felt like Marcus was rude to me. Not necessarily that he was rude to me, but I felt like he was rude to me.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't say anything. I would just let it fester and fester and fester and fester, thinking that I was being a good wife by not sharing my feelings. Because you hear a lot of people say, we're not moved by how we feel, we're moved by the word of God. Well, when you're in relationship with people, when we're in relationship with people, yes, we are moved by the word of God, but sometimes we have to have openness and understanding. And sometimes people don't mean to say or mean to be harsh. To me, I felt like when I put myself in a place where I wasn't able to share things with Marcus, the hurts and the pains with Marcus, he became my enemy really quickly.
Public enemy number one.
Yeah, he became my enemy because I'm like, okay, he's hurting me intentionally. And, I'm trying to pray about it and be a good wife and do what I'm supposed to do and not say anything. And he's hurting me on a consistent basis. So I'm allowing this to fester. And I realized even at that time, there may be things that we don't necessarily acknowledge all the time, but there's a time that you have to share and you have to be open.
Yeah.
And I had to overcome, really telling Marcus how I was feeling about certain things. And, sometimes when I told him stuff, I remember one time I told him something and he was like, man, if I'm really that person, that's really evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also said, man, if I'm doing that deliberately, leave.
Yeah.
I said, shoot. So I'm like, if I was you, I wouldn't even stay with me.
Yeah.
I've said that, and the same thing here. One of the things that I had to learn to do was to express myself in a different way,
Can you elaborate?
To be more gentle and kind.
Yeah.
And, if you put me in the Bahamas and observe me right now, we talk to everybody the same. I mean, guy, girl. We just blunt, blah, 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 So I had to realize that, okay, Andrea is not a Bahamian. And don't get me wrong, but she's my wife. So she's not like talking to my cousins who are females or talking to my sisters, or talking to, some of my friends. I mean, that's just not the case. And I mean, I talk to everybody. I spoke to everybody the same way. So I had to be gentle. No, what I'm saying is, blah, blah. Like, no, that's not it. Blah, 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 other one, it's like, but I'm still honest, but I'm very methodical in what I say. I choose my words carefully. I'm conscious of what I'm saying, who I'm talking to, and I find a nice, gentle, kind tone to say what I'm saying. I do miss it sometimes, but God is helping us.
Hey, look, this is not in any kind of way to say, hey, look, we've arrived.
No.
We have challenges, all the time. So we're not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but we are finding that there are certain things that work, and then there are certain things that don't work.
Yeah.
And we're applying the things that work.
Yeah.
I think that's probably been
yeah.
the most, the way that we've had the most success.
Yeah.
And then really, just being open and honest and communicating.
Yeah.
But to speak to what Marcus said,
yeah, go ahead.
My primary love language is words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And Marcus's primary love language is.
Hey, you can talk. Go ahead.
Is what?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
you know my love language. Go ahead. Talk.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of them.
Go ahead.
Well, I know it's quality time
mm-hmm.
and physical touch.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when he talks to me about tone, if his tone is off, it throws me off in the conversation. Like I have a hard time, like even focusing or paying attention.
Yeah.
But if I call him and talk to him on the phone about a situation, and then he comes home and I'm like, okay, well, we already talked about it on the phone. I'm thinking we're spending quality time, but that's not his. He wants in-person quality time. So he's like, you're not giving me the time that I need. So we've kind of, what I've done is I've said, okay, I can't really talk right now. Is it okay if we talk about this at home?
That's good.
So when he gets home, then I'm ready, I'm refreshed, I'm focused. I'm like, hey, look, I'm all in, I'm listening. You have my undivided attention. I put my phone down. We are talking. We are fully engaged in the conversation.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to you.
Yes, I don't. And again, I'm not an expert, but when we're talking, I don't like interruptions. I don't like people calling and, let me answer. I'd be like, look, send a mass text. I'll tell everybody, okay, I'm about to talk to Marcus for 30 minutes, okay? Don't call, don't interrupt. Call the White House before you call me, please. But I'm not saying that, and I'm not sitting here to say that I'm an expert. I'm not. And I'm not going to say I'm an expert on marriage or relationship. But I've taken the time to get to know the woman that God has placed in my life. And to me, that's what's important. She's the lady that's all by my side, be here. I want to know her because I want to know how to talk to Andrea. Because at the end of the day, when the Lord, when I stand before him, he's going to ask me how I treat Andrea and the things that I say. So understanding her is a big deal. Now, you're going to have to take the time to get to know your spouse, her, and learn their love language. And this worked for us. This may not be what worked for them. So you're going to have to take the time, have that conversation. It may be uncomfortable. It may not be easy, but it can be done. And I believe if we can do it, good Lord, anybody can.
I wanted to read a couple of things right here. I mentioned this when Marcus talked, and it's Brene Brown. She's a psychologist, a licensed clinician in the area of social work. And she writes about vulnerability. I define vulnerability as uncertainty, risk, emotional exposure. And Marcus and I, we've taken the risk there are conversations, and we talked about this the other day. Sometimes we're brutally honest with each other, not in the sense of, hurting one another, but in the sense of there are things that we share that may hurt. We're not doing it in a malicious way, but it may be honest for us. Yeah. So I may address something that I feel is happening, and it may be painful. But Marcus listens, and he's able to say, hey, look, this is what's going on, or this is not what's going on. But it allows me to expose what I'm feeling with full freedom to do so, and have him listen to me and say, yes, this is what's going on. No, this is not what's going on. And the same thing, Marcus is able to share things with me. And I'm not saying that we've gotten it right every time. Sometimes they've turned south or left or gone left. And, it's taken us kind of a couple of days maybe to work through it. Yeah. But we allow each other that space and room.
And I think, too, with that is like just in talking with each other, a lot of times we'll see a perspective that neither of us seeing, but just through having conversation, we'll see things. We'll see, oh, wow, where does she saw it? If it's something I'm dealing with, and, we just talking it out, and we begin to see other sides, other perspective, and like, hey, well, maybe this or maybe that is like, oh, I didn't even consider that. And it works both ways. I believe it's just something within us, to where we pull the best out of each other and help each other to see things, even if it's something that's affecting us in a negative light. Me personally, Angel would always show me the other side of it and say, well, maybe look at it from this side or look at it from this perspective, because I'm seeing, this is what I'm hearing. And then she said, well, this is kind of how I'm seeing it. This is, what I'm hearing about. Like, well, I never really thought about that like that. And a lot of times, 99.9% of times, you know what, it's right, because that individual I may be dealing with didn't even know what they were doing, because they don't know me. They operating from who they are, on what they know. But she knows me. She knows certain things that trigger me, and she'll know if there was something in there that triggered me to where I'm seeing things from one perspective. I was like, well, just look at it from this side. And then coming from Adria, it places more value because she knows me. But coming from someone else, I mean, I may hear it, but I may not see it as clear. Like, dude, you don't even know me. But when she said it, makes a difference.
Yeah. One of the things, Marcus keeps me grounded. I can, like I told you earlier on, I can go way somewhere else and theorize and philosophize and things of that nature. It's a nature of who I am. But Marcus keeps me grounded. So when I have issues that I'm dealing with, I go to him because I want a grounded opinion. And sometimes it's not what I want to hear. Yeah. A lot of times it's not what I want to hear. Yeah. Like I would say 99.9% of the time it's not what I want to hear, but I respect the fact that he can share those things with me. And I've utilized a lot of the things that he shared with me in relationships and in professional experience and things of that nature. And I've been successful, because we're a team. I think that's one thing that we had to determine, that we're going to be team, we're going to be partners. Yes, we love each other very much, and he's the love of my life. I'm the love of his life. Yes, but we're a team. Yeah, we work at, we come at parenting the same way. If we miss it, we miss it together.
and we do apologize. If we miss it, we do apologize to the kids.
Yeah.
We do. One thing I'd like to say, just something Andrea said. We talk about it. We give rounded opinion, but one thing we don't do is we don't take each other's side. Just because she's my wife and just because I'm a husband, we automatically go to defense. We don't do that. We remain objective.
Yeah.
And I think really it's for the most part it's been that way for a long time. Now, Andrea have always been objective. Let me change that. I just learned to be objective a few years ago, because if she came home and say something sideways or hurt her feelings, I'm ready to go get never mind. You know what I'm saying?
I told you y'all heard his story, so I don't have to say anything.
Yeah, I'm ready to go get the Bible.
Yeah, right now. Amen.
The Bible, the Glock Bible, you know what I mean? God has been good to Marcus. And he's protected me. It has never come to that.
Amen. Thank you for clearing that up. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just being honest, man.
Yeah. So I just, vulnerability looks different in every relationship. It depends on whether or not you come to a relationship healthy. And what I mean by healthy is you dealt with your baggage. You're secure in who you are, and you've done the work on yourself so that you can be the best person that you can be in the relationship. If you come unhealthy, sometimes it's a challenge. So Marcus said he came all the way in. I didn't come all the way in. He came putting down all his cards and being wholeheartedly in a relationship. I wasn't necessarily that way. But then I went through the experience that I went through, and then I came all the way in. And then he wasn't all the way there. And it took us years to kind of meet back in the middle. But we are there, It has been good.
Yeah.
So I don't want to close it. We've got about maybe a few more minutes. I want you to, just share what's on your heart right now, and then I'll close us out.
Well, really, the big thing on my heart is, as a man, I want to be supportive to my wife. I have dreams and I have visions, but she has dreams and visions too. And so much time, we focus on, the lady forsaking everything to follow us, and that's cool. But sometimes we have to be supportive of our wives, of our ladies, and let her know that, express that, be there. When Andrew bring people on our platform, I don't say yay or nay. That's totally her. When she asked me to be here, I'm here. She know I support her. She know that I got her back. At the same time, it's there are things that it's on the inside of her that makes me better and makes people better too. So, knowing that she have the opportunity to get that out and to share that and to be herself, it's just an awesome thing. And I support that and I commend that. And I just encourage you brothers out there. If, your wives have things in their hearts that they want to express and they want to share, encourage them to do that, not just to follow us around. I get that. I get biblical authority principles and how everything, submission, authority, I get all of that. But still, there's room within the vision that our wives can be who God has called her to be, to express herself and be what he's called her to be, you know what I'm saying? So if she is firm enough to, if she can hear from God to say yes to you, then doggone it, she can hear from God to say, okay, this is what I want to do on my time or my spare time or whatever, and have your support. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Marcus, for being here
You're welcome.
With me this week. So we talked about just how in the beginning of our relationship, I wasn't all the way in, but Marcus was all the way in. And then how that kind of convoluted our relationship. But then both of us went through our own separate journeys and had to go through the process of getting rid of the old baggage and coming to the relationship better, focused as a team with open communication, sometimes brutally honest, and then making it work. Making it work for us, within the confines of what we believe, what our faith is. So tonight, I know it was a little different than some of our other nights, but I pray that this would help you. I pray that you would see our journey and you would know that you could make it, even when it looks bleak, even when it looks like the relationship is absolutely over and you're ready to call it quits. You can make it. Hey, next week, we're going to have Gabrielle Tate on talking about getting rid of stigmas and how to identify a toxic relationship. Until next time, have a happy rest of your Thriving Thursday, and we'll see you then. Bye. Say bye, Marcus.
Bye.